Have you worked so hard on Chinese, but still can't understand what native speakers are saying? This podcast is just what you need. Welcome to Real Mandarin. My name is Kang Xin. Let's say goodbye to fake Chinese and learn to speak real Mandarin.
I usually put out two versions of my episodes. One is completely in Chinese, which is great for people who already have some Chinese skills and want to level up. The other version is all in English, aimed more at beginners. In the English version, I used English to explain key Chinese words and phrases, helping beginners to build their vocabulary. But honestly, every time I edit the English version, I catch myself making so many mistakes. It makes me want to redo the whole thing. Let me be real with you. I'm also learning English, so it's totally normal for me to mess up here and there. I just hope you don't mind. To be honest, English is really tough for me. Some of the grammar rules feel so weird and I just can't get used to them no matter how I try. That got me thinking, maybe the mistakes we Chinese speakers make in English could actually help English speakers learn Chinese. So I looked into it and it turns out they really can. So today we're going to take a closer look at some common mistakes Chinese speakers make when learning English and use them as a way to figure out how English speakers can better learn Chinese. So first, let's talk about pronunciation. Some English sounds don't exist in Chinese, like the TH sound in think or thank you. A lot of Chinese speakers will say think and thank you instead. So when you are learning Chinese, make sure you're not sneaking a TH sound into words where it doesn't belong. For example, the word 是 means is or be. To be should not sound like 字. If you do, we call that 大舌头 in Chinese, which means big tongue. So it's like illness, I don't know. Another thing is final consonants. In English, you have words like desk or fast, where the last sound is a cluster of consonants. But in Chinese, we don't do that. Every syllable ends with a vowel or a nasal sound. So don't be surprised if a Chinese speaker said desk instead of desk. Then there's tone. Chinese is a tonal language, so tone really matters. For example, in English, you may say, I don't think so, with a flat, neutral tone. But some Chinese speakers might accidentally add tones, like I don't think so, because that's what we're used to in Chinese. When you speak Chinese, you need to pay attention to tone. It's not just about pronunciation, it's about meaning. Getting the tone wrong can completely change what you're trying to say. Now let's move on to grammar. Here's a big one. Articles. Chinese don't have words like an, the, so we often mess them up or skip them altogether. And also plurals. In Chinese, whether it's one bird or two birds, the words stay the same, 鸟, no s at the end. Also, tenses are another headache. In English, verbs change based on when the action happens. Past, present, future, you name it. In Chinese, verbs never change. We use context or a little helper words to show when something happened. For example, 我吃饭 means I eat. 我吃饭了 means I ate. So we add 了 in the end to tell you it happened in the past. No need to mess with the verb itself. Then complex sentence. In English, every sentence needs to have one clear subject. But in Chinese, we are a lot more flexible. For example, in English, the teacher explained the lesson clearly, which the students were understanding easily. It's not correct. But in Chinese, this sentence became 老师讲课很清楚，学生理解起来很容易。老师讲课很清楚，学生理解起来很容易。In Chinese, it's fine to have multiple subjects or none at all, as long as the meaning is clear. So when you are learning Chinese, don't overthink sentence structure. Lastly, let's talk about vocabulary. For example, I want to success. You did it perfect. In Chinese, we don't stress over parts of speech like in English. One word can be a noun, verb, or adjective depending on how you use it. For example, the word 成功 can mean success, noun, to succeed, verb, and successful, adjective. So when you are speaking Chinese, don't get too caught up in whether a word is supposed to be one thing or another. And then there are idioms and metaphors. You've probably heard funny translations like people mountain, people sea, which comes from the Chinese idiom 人山人海, means a huge crowd. Also, the use of 鱼酸 he frog comes from 癞蛤蟆想吃天鹅肉. This happens because Chinese speakers often assume English speakers think the same way they do. When you are learning Chinese, get familiar with idioms. They are everywhere in the language, and understanding them will help you sound more natural. So there are some common mistakes Chinese speakers make when learning English and what they can teach us about learning Chinese. Understanding these differences will make your Chinese journey a lot easier. Good luck and keep going.
If you like my podcast, please follow me up. Thank you for your support. See you next time. And don't forget to speak real Mandarin.